Welcome to the Bulls Guys podcast, Bulls fans. I'm your host, Kenyatta Wright. My partner, Greg, my co host, is off for the night for Valentine's Day, spending time with his wife. So I'm going to recap the Chicago Bulls and the San Antonio Spurs game. The Chicago Bulls win over the Spurs 120 to 109. Big win at home. We're going to recap the game right after this. You want the most uncensored and unbiased podcast? The Bulls Guys podcast. There's only Kenyatta Wright and Greg Love can bring it to you. Follow us on Anchor, YouTube, and all social media platforms. You can use your support.
You're listening to the Bulls Guys podcast, where we talk about your Chicago Bulls and give an unbiased take. Thank you for listening, and like and subscribe.
All right, we're back on the Bulls Guys podcast, and this game was just a crazy game, man. From start to finish, I felt like the Bulls established themselves early and established Vooch in the post. Vooch came out with three straight scores from the post on the inside as the Bulls found them on down low in the paint. Kobe White hit three straight threes to start this game out, and I felt like the Bulls established inside-outside game, which was a perfect game plan, and they continued to do that, all the way through the first half. But then the Spurs adjusted and started forcing the Bulls back into the jumpers and forcing an outside-inside game. Vooch started reverting back to the outside. Then in the second half, I felt like the Bulls started attacking the basket a lot more. They started denying penetration by the Spurs, especially in the fourth quarter. Demar opened the fourth quarter with 4 straight baskets and exploded for 9 points, had 1 free throw. And Demar had 19 points in the fourth quarter, which is he ties his record of fourth quarter scoring with 19. And I felt like the Bulls just denied penetration to the Spurs. It took all night for that to happen, though, because in the third quarter, mostly the Spurs attacked the rim, and the Bulls didn't have no answer for it, mainly with Javonte Green and Lonnie Walker. Lonnie Walker came off the bench. She had about 22 in this game, and the Spurs just 21 in this game. 21-5 and 2 assists for Lonnie Walker. And the Spurs basically were attacking the rim all night when they found out that, the Bulls wouldn't allow them, to shoot well in this game. The Bulls were getting out the shooters all night. I really liked the way they defended the paint. The Spurs shot 47% from the field, 6 for 20, only 30% from the three-point line. So the Spurs basically lived in the paint, had 70 points in the paint in this game, so 52 for the Bulls. The Bulls had 16 turnovers, which was one of the reasons why the Spurs were in this game and got so many opportunities. But I point to DeMar and his 19-point explosion. I point to, about 3 blocks down the stretch from Vooch. The Bulls held the Spurs to 1 point in the final minutes of this game. In the final 3 minutes of this game, outscored the Spurs 6-1 in those final 2 minutes of the contest, and they pull this one out 120 to 109. What I liked about this game is that the Bulls they played poised throughout the whole entire fourth quarter. It was like when the fourth quarter got here, the Bulls just knew what they had to do, and they just from the jump they just established, and with the Demar put pressure on the Spurs to guard him. And I felt like when the Spurs double teamed him, instead of DeMar, taking the ball for himself like he usually does late in that fourth, he started finding guys like Vooch, Kobe White, and those guys started putting pressure on the Spurs to guard them. Derrick Jones Jr. had a perfect and one under the basket, when DeMar was doubled. And the Bulls, I felt like as a unit, started placing pressure on the Spurs to guard all over the floor instead of just pay attention to DeMar. And I felt like that was the difference in the game. And this was a balanced game. The Bulls got contribution from all over their lineup. The Bulls had 40. I'm sorry, from DeMar DeRozan, 7 assists, 3 rebounds, and that 19 points really helped the Bulls distance themselves from the Spurs a little bit. Javonte Green had 7 points in this game. Vucevic had 25, 1 block, 5 assists, and 16 rebounds. A double-double for Vooch, his 34th double-double this season. Kobe White had 24 points, 6 assists, and 5 rebounds. A great game from Kobe White. He had some key threes down the stretch. And this game was tight. It was tight all the way through the night. And it was a perfect testament, just like the Thunder game was also a test for us. And it's gonna be like this, I think, for until Zach gets back. Zach experiencing knee pains early in the season. Zach missed some time. Now he's missing some more time with knee soreness, a similar injury. But the last time that he went out, I believe it was in that new Brooklyn Nets contest back in Chicago where he left the game, and it was reported that he was experiencing knee soreness. When they got an MRI, they told him there was no structural damage, and Zach was returned back to the team, I believe, within 4 or 5 weeks after that. And now he's going back out after that game in Minnesota with other concerns to his knee. I don't think it's really a big deal. I just think he's having knee pains, and he's probably just gonna have to take a rest on it. But I'm not a doctor. He has to take the MRI, and the doctor has to give a diagnosis. But let's hold our hands together and pray that nothing is wrong with this young man, because he's one of the keys to our season. And if he's injured, it's going to be bad for the Bulls. But I think he comes back. I think he comes back healthy. He's saying he's playing in the All-Star weekend, which I think is kind of weird. If you're not going to play any regular season games, why are you going to play, in the All-Star game? But I'm not going to question Zach's accountability. I'm going to trust him at his word, and if he say he's injured and he's having knee pains, I'm going to believe him. But back to this game, man, the Bulls really stuck to their guns tonight. This is a team that blew them out in San Antonio really, really bad, and the Bulls just came back to redeem themselves. And these injuries could build a lot of character for this team. Sometimes you need your guys out to see what you're made of. And the Bulls needed to be tested. And I feel, with the guys out, a lot of guys are going to dig down deep and figure out, what basically is their ceiling, what is my place on this team? I feel like when you have your regular roster, guys get hidden and, in the rotation, and they don't really know their roles. I feel like, these guys that normally don't get playing time, it'll kind of give them confidence and let them know what their role is on this team. And it'll build a lot of character with our squad, to have all these guys out and to find a way, getting Derrick Jones Jr. back, having him fight through, a finger injury that's obviously still bothering him. Derrick Jones returning back in that Minnesota game the other night. But the Bulls are just finding ways to win. And it's not going to be pretty. This one wasn't even pretty. Even though we won by 11, it was a much tougher game than the score indicates. And I'm just glad that the Bulls gutted it out and found the way to win. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back right after this. The Bulls Guys Podcast, formerly known as the Talking Bulls Podcast. The most up-to-date Bulls news, rants, and in-your-face, blunt opinions. Follow us on YouTube, Anchor, and all social media platforms.
Thanks for tuning in to the Bulls Guys Podcast. Please like, subscribe, and tell all your friends about us for unbiased and unfiltered opinion on your Chicago Bulls. That's the Bulls Guys Podcast.
How do you feel about the Bulls? How would you like to be on our show, the Bulls Guys Podcast, and give your thoughts on the team? Send us your emails at talkingbulls82@gmail.com, and we'll be glad to have you on. Couple scores around the league in the third quarter, with 1:16 remaining. The Denver Nuggets is up on the Orlando Magic 81-68. In the third quarter in Utah, the Utah Jazz are leading the Houston Rockets by 20, 94-74. Early in the first on NBA TV, the LA Clippers are leading the Golden State Warriors 14-9. A few finals, Detroit lost to the Washington Wizards 103-94. The Brooklyn Nets edged the Sacramento Kings 109-85. And overtime was a thrilling game, it seems. The New York Knicks lose to the OKC Thunder 127-123. And Portland defeats Milwaukee in a shocker, and they upset 122-107. Can't say I ain't happy about that one. And then New Orleans defeated the Toronto Raptors 120-90. Toronto Raptors was on a winning streak. I believe they won about 6 or 7 straight. That's a shocker to see them lose in New Orleans. I'll wrap this show up. When we come back, we're going to get into my final word, and then we're going to wrap the show up right after these messages, folks. You want the most uncensored and unbiased podcast? The Bulls Guys Podcast. As only Kenyatta Wright and Greg Love can bring it to you. Follow us on Anchor, YouTube, and all social media platforms. You can use your support. Final word. Teamwork. Teamwork is what got it done tonight. Forget individual awards like MVPs, All-Star games, any of those accolades. When you're playing for a team, you need each other to win. The last time the Bulls faced the Spurs, they were blown off the court because they didn't play as a team. Tonight they did with 25 assists. The Bulls go into battle without one of their toughest soldiers in Zach Lavine. But they must hold up, and they have done that tonight and proven that through adversity, through injuries, through all of the challenges, through doubt, they must fight and will fight and stick together through any kind of adversities. And moving forward, we have no reason to doubt these guys. If they come out and defend the way they did tonight, come out and fight the way they did tonight, come out and play for each other like they did tonight, they shall be successful. Because in team, there is no individuality. The only thing individuality defines is failure. But as a team, success is the only goal. And success is what this team will achieve moving forward as they win without some of their toughest soldiers, Alex Caruso, Lonzo Ball, Zach Lavine. The power ain't in the lack of the soldiers that are not here, but the power is in the goal and the execution of the soldiers that remain. All right, thanks for joining me tonight, Bulls fans. It was a great show. The Bulls get a big one, 120-109, as we stay afloat to keep on challenging for that first seed and number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. Listen, man, I think we can gut it out, man. We got the Kings on the 16th in 2 days, and this was a big win, and it's going to be a much-needed day off. Bulls been playing a lot of back-to-backs, and with players ailing like Derrick Jones Jr., we can use the days off when we can get them. So thank you for joining me tonight, Bulls fans. Don't forget also to like and subscribe, please. It helps us to keep bringing you great content, build the channel up. And leave your comments below. Any comments or anything I've said in the show, your comments and your feedback is greatly appreciated. It will be reviewed on the show when we do get a chance. When my buddy Greg Love gets back, hope you're having a good Valentine's Day with your wife, brother. And I stuck it out for both of us, bro. Another one in the books for the Bulls Guys podcast. And I'll see you guys on the next show. Good night, Chicago. Good night, Bulls fans all around the world.